My son locked me in the basement and said, "You'll stay down here until you're forgotten." My voice echoed in the dark, "You'll never be able to forget me." When he heard the scratching in the walls, he realized, "My name's Deborah Arnett. I'm 63. I've lived in Lancaster, Pennsylvania my whole life. Raised my son here, worked 2 jobs most of my adult life, stayed out of trouble, minded my business. I never thought my life would end up like this. Trapped, abandoned, betrayed by the only person I ever truly lived for. Michael was my whole world. I had him when I was 23. His father took off when I was still in the hospital, said he wasn't cut out for the family life. I didn't cry when he left. I just got to work. I took a job cleaning banks at night and working part-time at the VA hospital during the day. I barely slept for the first 10 years. My mother helped some before she passed, but after that it was just me. I cooked every meal. I sat through every school play and soccer game. I clipped coupons. I made sure he had new shoes, even if I didn't. And when college came around, I took out 2 parent loans under my name, so he wouldn't be saddled with debt. He never asked me to, but I wanted him to have a life better than mine. I used to think he appreciated it. But after he graduated, things started changing. He wasn't mean, not at first. Just distant. He called less. Visited only on holidays. Then he met Valerie. From the second I met her, I felt something was off. She smiled a lot, but it never reached her eyes. She'd talk over me, interrupt me when I'd tell stories about Michael growing up. She didn't want to know about who he was, only who he was becoming with her. She was trying to erase me from his history. After they got married, they told me they wanted to temporarily move in to save for a house. They said it'd only be for 6 months. I didn't want it, but I said yes. I always said yes to Michael. They moved in, and everything started changing fast. Valerie acted like she was doing me a favor just by being polite. She called me Debbie, even after I told her I didn't like it. Started telling Michael things behind my back. I'd walk into the room and hear them go quiet. Then Michael started siding with her. Little things at first, silencing me during dinner, rolling his eyes when I asked questions. Then they told me they wanted to help with the bills. I thought that meant they'd pay a portion. What it actually meant was they transferred every utility into their names. They somehow got the deed changed. I still don't know how. I wasn't even aware it had happened until I saw the mail addressed to them as owners. I confronted Michael and he said, "You said this would always be my house someday." I didn't realize someday was already here. I stopped cooking because Valerie said I left a mess. I wasn't allowed to have my church group over because we need the house quiet for work. I felt like a guest in my own home, a prisoner. Then one afternoon, I asked Valerie if she could move her car. I had a doctor's appointment. She looked me dead in the eye and said, "We canceled it. You didn't need to go." I felt something inside me snap. That night, Michael woke me up around 2 a.m. "Come downstairs, Mom," he said. His voice was flat, like he wasn't really awake. I followed him without thinking, down to the basement. The second I stepped inside, I knew something was wrong. The shelves were empty. There was a cot in the corner, a bucket, a few water bottles lined up neatly. Then the door slammed behind me. I screamed his name. He didn't answer at first. Then I heard his voice through the door. "You'll stay down here until you're forgotten." I ran to the door, pounded with my fists, screamed until my throat bled. I begged. I cursed. Nothing worked. They kept me down there for days, maybe weeks. I lost track of time. The light bulb burned out on day 5, I think. After that, I lived in darkness. I rationed what they left, a few cans of beans, some water. I tried not to sleep too much, because that's when the scratching started. At first, I thought it was mice. But it wasn't. It was deeper than that. Something was in the walls. Something bigger. I stopped screaming for help. It didn't matter anymore. Then one night, I heard him come down to the door. He slid a tray under it, like I was a dog. And that's when it scratched again. Loud. Like claws dragging through the beams. Michael froze. "You hear it, don't you?" I asked. No answer. I walked up to the door and whispered, "You'll never be able to forget me." And then I laughed. Not because it was funny, because I finally understood something. He wasn't afraid of me. He was afraid of what I left behind. Michael didn't come back down for 3 days after that. He used to bring food once a day like clockwork. After I whispered to him, after the scratching, he stopped. The tray stayed empty. The water bottle was never replaced. I didn't panic at first. I thought maybe he was just shaken. Maybe he'd realize how far this had gone. But by the second day, I knew he wasn't just scared. He was thinking. Valerie must have gotten in his head again. I could hear them arguing upstairs, muffled through the vents. Her voice was always sharper than his, slicing through the silence like a knife. I couldn't hear the words, but I could hear the tone, accusing, impatient. The scratching started getting louder, night after night, always in the same corner of the basement, near the old breaker panel. I'd stare into that black spot for hours, waiting to see something move. I started talking to it.
I don't know why.
Maybe because no one else was listening. "Are you still there?" I whispered once. The scratching stopped. And then, as if answering me, a soft tap, 3 quick knocks. I backed away, heart pounding. Whatever was behind that wall, it was listening. By the 4th day, I collapsed from hunger. My knees buckled, and I hit the concrete floor hard. I laid there for hours, maybe longer. I remember dreaming of sunlight, the kind of warmth that used to hit my kitchen table in the mornings. When I woke up, Michael was standing in the basement. The door was open. He didn't say anything. He was just staring at me like he didn't know who I was. I pushed myself up, slow, dizzy. My lips were cracked. My body ached. But I looked him dead in the eye. "You're not my son," I said.
My voice was raw.
"You're hers." He flinched, just a little. Then he dropped a protein bar on the ground, turned, and walked back up the stairs. He locked the door again. That's when I realized. He wasn't keeping me down here because he hated me. He was doing it because he was terrified of Valerie. She had control over him. Maybe it started small, little manipulations, small lies.
But now, she owned him.
His money, his name, his decisions. And me? I was just a problem she wanted to erase. The next night, something else changed. I heard Valerie come down the stairs. Alone. She opened the door, stepped in, and shut it behind her. I didn't move. I just sat on the cot, waiting. She stood there in the dark, heels clicking on the floor. "You're lucky we didn't send you to a home," she said. "But then again, those cost money. And you don't make us any." I didn't speak. She walked over, close enough that I could smell her perfume. Sharp, expensive, sour. "If you keep causing problems," she whispered, "I'll make sure Michael never sees you again. You'll die in here, and no one will ask questions." Then she turned to leave. Right as she touched the doorknob, the wall scratched again. Louder than ever. So loud, Valerie jumped. She froze. Looked over her shoulder at the dark corner. "What the hell is that?" she muttered. I didn't answer. She left in a hurry. After that, things changed upstairs. I could hear Michael moving furniture. Hammering. Heavy thuds like he was dragging something across the floor. He was sealing me in, but he was also sealing something out. Or maybe, just maybe, he was too late. Because 2 nights later, I heard a sound I hadn't heard in years. A voice.
Low.
Garbled.
Male.
It came from inside the wall. "Deb, just once."
Just my name.
And I remembered something I hadn't thought about in decades. That old breaker panel? The one with the scratching? It used to connect to the crawl space. Back when my husband was still around. The husband who disappeared without warning. Michael never knew what happened to his father. But I did. And suddenly I had a feeling. He might find out the hard way. I didn't sleep for the next 2 nights. I just sat on the cot, staring at that wall. The voice didn't come back right away, but the scratching got worse. It wasn't random anymore. It had rhythm. It would scratch in 3 long strokes, then stop. 3. Stop. 3 again. It was trying to get my attention. Or maybe it was trying to remember. That corner of the basement had always been strange. Back when Michael was a baby, I used to hear things down here. But I blamed it on the pipes, the old wood beams, maybe a raccoon or two. My husband, Eli, that was his name, he spent more time down here than he did with us. Always tinkering, always fixing something in that crawl space. Then one day, he didn't come home. I told people he left us, that he walked out. But that wasn't true. Eli was a violent man. He never hit Michael, but he scared the hell out of me. Screamed, threatened, grabbed. The last night we argued, he grabbed a hammer. I grabbed the cast iron skillet from the stove. Only one of us walked away. I panicked. I had a baby upstairs. No money. No one to call. I dragged him to the basement, wrapped him in a tarp, buried him under the crawl space behind the breaker panel. I told everyone he left. People believed it. Some even said, "You're better off." And now, years later, something in that wall was waking up. Maybe it wasn't his voice. Maybe I was losing my mind in the dark. But then Michael came back down. Not with food. Not with water. He had tools. He was sweating, twitchy, his eyes darting everywhere like he hadn't slept either. "I heard it," he said, not looking at me. I heard him. I didn't answer. He dropped to his knees at the panel and started unscrewing it.
Isetfrosen.
My heart slammed in my chest. "Who is it?" he asked. "What the hell is down here?" He ripped the panel open, shined his flashlight into the crawl space. His whole body froze. "I think there's something buried," he said. My stomach dropped. He reached in,
Pulled out the tarp.
It was soaked through. Black. Wet. Rotting. He didn't open it. He didn't have to. He looked at me. "Who is this?" I stood up slowly. My voice came out dry. "Your father." He dropped the tarp like it was burning him. "You lied to me," he whispered. "My whole life." "You locked me in the basement," I said. "You tried to erase me." We stood in silence. Then the door slammed upstairs. Valerie's voice echoed from above. "Michael." He froze. I stepped closer. "She doesn't know." He turned to me, panicked. "She doesn't know what you found," I said. His hands trembled. "What do I do?" I looked him dead in the eyes. "Now you have to choose." Michael stood there, staring at the rotting tarp like it might come alive. "You lied to me," he said again, but softer. Not angry now, just confused. I didn't respond. I didn't apologize. What was I supposed to say? That I did it for him? That I kept him safe? I'd already told myself those lies for decades. But looking at my son now, sweating, shaking, trapped between two versions of his life, I knew he wasn't asking for truth. He was asking for permission. He wanted me to tell him what to do next. "Michael." Valerie called from upstairs again, her voice sharp and impatient. "Where the hell are you?" He turned toward the stairs. "Don't," I said. He looked at me, torn. "She can't know." "Exactly," I said. "But she will. If she comes down here, she'll see it. And she'll own you even more than she already does." His jaw clenched. "You think she'll protect you?" I asked. "You think she'll keep this secret? She'll run straight to the cops and pin it on both of us. She already erased me. She'll erase you too." He didn't answer. "Michael, are you even listening?" Valerie's heels started clicking across the floor above us. I stepped between him and the stairs. "You want out?" I said. "Then you better decide whose side you're on. Right now." He looked back at the crawl space, then at me, then at the locked door. I saw something shift in his eyes. A flicker of the boy I raised. The one who used to hold my hand in the grocery store, who cried when his pet turtle died. He walked past me and shut the crawl space panel, screwed it back in fast, kicked dust over the ground where the tarp had been. "Go back to your cot," he said without looking at me. I didn't move. "Now," he hissed. I backed away slowly and sat. He turned the light off, locked the basement door behind him. I heard him upstairs. Then silence. Then shouting. Valerie's voice loud and angry. "What do you mean, she's gone?" "Michael, I said she left, packed a bag, and walked out. Why would she do that? You didn't even let her. She's not coming back. A long silence. Then Valerie said something low and mean. I couldn't hear it all, but I caught one word. Liability. And then I knew. Valerie wasn't going to let this go. She would find a way to dig.
To push.
To control. Even with a body in the crawl space and a mother locked in the dark, she wasn't satisfied. She wanted full control of Michael. And if I was still breathing, that was a problem for her. The real danger hadn't been the wall or the thing buried in it. It was upstairs, and she was just getting started. 3 days passed. Michael didn't come back. The door stayed locked. No food. No water. Just the sound of footsteps above, Valerie pacing, slamming drawers, yelling into her phone. I knew she was unraveling. She thought she had everything in her grip. The house, the money, my son. She thought she could rewrite history and bury me like I never existed. But she forgot one thing. You can't erase a woman who already buried a man once. On the 4th night, the door opened. Michael stood there. His face was pale, his eyes sunken. He didn't speak, just motioned for me to follow. I didn't ask questions. I climbed those stairs one step at a time, my knees screaming, my legs shaking. Valerie wasn't home. She went to see a lawyer, he said quietly. Said she's tired of the games. She's talking about selling the house. I looked around. My house. My pictures, my furniture. Everything that was mine still stood, but now it felt like a crime scene. She'll come back and try to finish this, I said. You know that. He nodded. But she won't be coming back here. We spent the next few hours working in silence. We emptied the crawl space, wrapped the remains properly. I made him help. Not because I needed the help, but because he needed to understand what it meant to clean up a mess you caused, even if you didn't create it. We didn't call the police. Instead, we did something smarter. Michael used Valerie's laptop. Found photos of her at some retreat in the Poconos years back. Photoshop did the rest. He set up fake emails. One that made it look like Valerie was threatening me, another where she admitted to doing what had to be done to keep control of Michael. He printed everything. He mailed it anonymously to the local DA. He wanted her arrested. I wanted her gone. So I took it a step further. The night she came back, we let her walk in.
Calm.
Confident. She looked at me like I was a ghost. Michael played dumb. Where have you been? He asked. She glared at me. I thought we were done with her. I smiled. Not quite. She stepped forward until she saw what was on the coffee table. The stack of envelopes. The photos. The emails. The copy of the new deed Michael filed, transferring the house back to me. She froze. Michael leaned in close to her. If you ever speak to either of us again, he said, those get sent to the DA. And the press. I already paid for the postage. You can't prove. I don't need to, I said. I just need them to start looking. That was it. She didn't say another word. She turned, walked out, slammed the door behind her. We never saw her again. But the body? We didn't bury it again. We left it where it belonged, in a sealed container, anonymously placed in a vacant lot 2 counties over, with a note that read, found by accident. Unknown identity. Maybe someone's missing father. The story made the local news. No one connected it to us. And Michael? He stayed. He fixed the house. Took care of the yard. He didn't say much, but he stopped flinching when I spoke. He started calling me Mom again. I didn't forgive him. Not completely. But I didn't lock him in the dark either. I let him live with what he'd done. And every time he walks past the basement door, he hears it creak just slightly, like something behind it still remembers. And he knows, you don't forget the people you try to bury. Because the ones you bury wrong, they come back.